Right now, they do, they did, then the governor did, now the state does. Marriage equality, it comes to New Jersey, and then it becomes permanent. Tonight, what it means for the lucky couples here, for the governor, for the state, and for the push to make marriage equality the law of the land. And then it is just a few website flaws, or are the hiccups people are having with Obamacare a sign of a much bigger problem? We're going to diagnose what is ailing the rollout of health reform. And later, do you want to put odds on Vegas-style casinos coming to the Empire State? Well, it could be just even money, as they say. New polls are out showing why language really does matter when it comes to this ballot initiative, and why Governor Cuomo may now be picking up the dice. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I am Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us this Monday evening, October 21st. And we're going to start tonight with the historic developments when it comes to same-sex marriage in New Jersey. And before we do, just a quick side note. All of us at RFL want to extend our congratulations to all the couples who were finally able to tie the knot today, and to the countless more who are now going to get that shot. Well, thanks, that is all due to a ruling from the New Jersey State Supreme Court that came down last Friday. If you watched the show, we talked to some of the big drivers behind it. Now, we knew this would be a special day in the fight for marriage equality, but we didn't know just how lasting and how special it would actually be. And that's because of what the governor did, or more aptly, Andrew, didn't choose to do.
Well, Rich, the celebrations in New Jersey began even before midnight as some same-sex couples in the state exchanged vows during the overnight and waited for the clock to strike midnight Monday, when the powers could finally be vested in those conducting the ceremonies. And then this morning, in a move that seemed to surprise just about everyone, Governor Christie's office announced it would drop its appeal of the case that made today's weddings possible, making marriage equality officially the law of the state. No court ruling, no referendum, no constitutional amendment needed. Now, for more on all the movement on the issue in New Jersey today, and of course, and more importantly, for more on the celebrations it sparked, we turn to FiOS 1 News' Kimberly Wallace in Montclair, New Jersey.
Now pronounce these couples enjoined in marriage. Congratulations.
It is a historic day in New Jersey on several fronts. After years of controversy and campaigning, same-sex couples are legally allowed to wed beginning today, and the celebration has grown now that Governor Christie has dropped his appeal against gay marriage just 3 days after the courts ruled against his request to delay it.
We had an unexpected wedding present from an unexpected source.
Not only have we won the freedom to marry, they will never take it away from us.
We won. There is marriage equality in New Jersey.
The governor's office announced its withdrawal to the Supreme Court today. In a statement, his administration says the governor disagrees with the court's rulings earlier this month to allow same-sex couples to wed, and continues saying, quote, "The court has now spoken clearly as to their view of the New Jersey Constitution, and therefore same-sex marriage is the law. The governor will do his constitutional duty and ensure his administration enforces the law as dictated by the New Jersey Supreme Court," end quote. Just after midnight, several mayors, including Stephen Fulop in Jersey City, performed wedding ceremonies for gay couples. Fulop says he's pleased with the governor's decision.
I think that a lot of that was rhetoric, really, regarding kind of politics and aspirations. So I'm happy he's taken the approach of recognizing that New Jersey does have the ability to have marriage equality.
I think what the governor did today to make it part of New Jersey law is great. I want to commend him. Now the people who get married today don't ever have to worry about it again here in New Jersey.
You may kiss your spouse.
Christie's withdrawal ends legal challenges that today's vows can be undone by a court, but the work is not over just yet.
There will be a large public education campaign centered around making sure people in New Jersey know what their rights are, know what this decision means.
As for couples already joined by civil unions in the state, officials say that's considered a separate status. They can now apply for their marriage license. In order to have the same rights as married couples, they will have to exchange vows. Reporting for RFL in Montclair, I'm Kimberly Wallace, FiOS 1 News.
Kimberly, thanks. This is one of those issues and moments where the details really matter. So here's the portion of Governor Christie's statements that Kim could not include in her story. Christie noting that the court, quote, left no ambiguity about the unanimous court's view on the ultimate decision in this matter, writing same-sex couples who cannot marry are not treated equally under the law today. And he continued, although the governor strongly disagrees with the court substituting its judgment for the constitutional process of the elected branches or a vote of the people, that explained part of the rationale for the governor to make that decision today. Now, this ruling makes New Jersey the 14th state in the nation to allow same-sex marriages, along with the District of Columbia. A group limited, of course, in states to the West Coast, the 2 states in the Midwest, but then every square inch of the eastern seaboard and New England from D.C. to Maine. For more on today's developments, we turn once again to Troy Stevenson, Executive Director of Garden State Equality, whom you heard briefly in Kim's piece. He has been front and center in this fight as anyone. I spoke with him just a few minutes ago. Troy, such an emotional day on so many different levels. I want to get your emotions, but first, how were the couples who were tying the knot finally? What were their emotions like today from what you saw?
It was breathtaking. Just the love on display. You saw so many loving and committed couples that have been waiting, some of them for decades, to have the dignity of marriage and to finally get to see them take that step and to legally take that step. It was amazing.
What about for you? You've been fighting for this for so long. First to see same-sex marriages actually performed, and then to find out that there would be no further challenges to them, that this was going to be the law of New Jersey going forward. What was going through your mind and your heart today?
Well, last night was extremely emotional, and waking up this morning to the news that the governor had decided to drop the appeal, it was shocking. All I could think about was the amount of work our staff put into pulling off these weddings. I mean, we had to arrange judges and get people licenses and really jump through a lot of hurdles put in our way by the state. But what we ended up with was dozens of couples throughout the state actually being allowed to get married. And I think the governor and the world, the nation, woke up to seeing the faces of those couples on TV. And I think it was one thing for him to stand in the way of their civil rights for all these years, but to actually see the fruition of their marriages, I think it would have been hard for even him to have said, I want to rip those away. I want to take those rights away from you. I think that he woke up this morning and realized that there was only one thing he could do, and that was get out of the way.
Well, you know politics as well as anybody in New Jersey, Troy. Do you think that it was a political decision by Governor Christie, or do you think it really was an emotional, heartfelt, internal decision from him?
I would like to believe the latter, but we never know. I mean, we are in a political monster of a state, so I will give credit where credit is due and say he finally saw the light and got out of the way.
Just a bit of housekeeping. Do you still want to try to get this past the legislature or through a referendum, or are you fine just letting the state Supreme Court have the final say on this in New Jersey?
We've never wanted to go to the ballot. I'm talking to Senate and Assembly leadership today. I'm actually off to Trenton as soon as I finish this, hopefully, to have some conversations. And we'll see what the next steps are. But this Supreme Court made a really strong decision, and the governor has decided not to appeal it. So what I do know now is this is full and total victory. The state of New Jersey has marriage equality, and there's nothing anybody can do to take that away.
What would you say to your counterpart in other states where marriage equality is not yet legal, considering New Jersey has a Republican governor who managed to finally turn the corner on this and make marriage equality the law of the state?
I would say don't ever give up. 9 months ago, when I promised that we would have marriage equality this year, people laughed at me. They scoffed, and here we are. Today, it's official. Couples have been marrying since midnight, and it's not going to stop now or ever.
Are you still comfortable with this process moving state by state, or are you hoping that the Supreme Court of the United States, or perhaps even the Congress, makes this a national, all 50 state law?
I think within the next 5 years, we'll see every state in the country have the freedom to marry. I think this will be an issue that is behind us, and thank God.
And finally, Troy, you can now drive up, starting in Washington, D.C., all the way to the tip of Maine, all along the eastern seaboard and up through New England, and have marriage equality on the books all over the Northeast. Did you think you'd see the day? Well, obviously
Absolutely.
You did, but did you think it would come this far, this fast, and this quickly?
I have chills just thinking about the question you asked, but you're right. The entire eastern seaboard of the United States is now a lot freer.
Well, Troy, congratulations, and thanks for your work on so many couples' behalfs. And you enjoy this night in a way that few probably can. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Rich.
All right, Andrew, thank you. And let's bring in the rest of our panel tonight for this conversation. We got Dominic Carter, political journalist and author, of course, and David Urin, executive director of The Loft. That's a lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community services center in Lower Hudson Valley. It's interesting. We've talked over the years on this subject and the velocity that it's picked up. But before we talk the politics of it and the possibilities nationally, put a human face in this, because you could even tell in Andrew's question with Troy that it took a lot to process, because not long ago this was, hey, we're lucky if we even get a civil union. Forget about marriage. The idea that it has moved quickly, I guess is a relative term, but that we are now at the point where you go from New Jersey up the Eastern Seaboard, every state recognizes same-sex couples as equal in every way.
And they should be. My congratulations to my brothers and sisters in New Jersey who can now get married. The Supreme Court certainly gave Christie a gift in that. But on the human level, these are couples who love each other. Many of them have been married for going on decades without the same benefits and rights and privileges and, yes, responsibilities that come with marriage. And so, and it has been fast. It has been really fast. 2004 is when Massachusetts came on board. So next year will mark its 10th year anniversary. So in those short 10 years, that 1 decade, we have almost within a state and a half, we're a state and a half away from almost having a third of the states have marriage equality. And even people within the movement are surprised at the momentum.
If you could for a second, sometimes, because it seems, I mean, you got unanimity at this table, but we talk, oh, it's these certain benefits that aren't, but it's a lot more than that, isn't it? I mean, if you can put as much as you can, put a human face on this, so people you know here, where this isn't just a piece of paper that carries additional rights. It's about a lot more than that, isn't it?
It is. It's recognition that your relationship matters, that who you are and who you love matters. So it does bring it down to that level, yes.
Andrew, on the political side, you know, people say, well, how could this be a victory? This is the dream scenario, I think, for Chris Christie. He didn't want this hanging over his head, but yet he can claim, if he does decide to run, and we think there's a good chance of that in 2016, in the Republican primaries, hey, you know, the court took it out of my hands. I just decided to go along here. But privately, I think this isn't a fight he really wanted to keep on fighting.
I think that's right, and I think it also gives even greater indication of how he's going to run that 2016 campaign, which is the assumption, which is a correct one, I believe, that there will always be somebody running to his right in this process, whether it's Rand Paul or Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio. There will also always be an ultra-conservative, and if marriage, you know, stopping same-sex marriage is your issue as a Republican candidate, there's always going to be a better choice than Chris Christie for doing that. So may as well embrace the middle and try to be the candidate of the moderate Republican Party if he can sell himself as that.
Richard, there is a little bit of a gamble for the governor, because conservatives going into the presidential race, assuming that he's going to run for president, will say, hey, wait a minute, governor, you're not really with us. Why did you drop your appeal? So there will be a little bit of a risk. But, you know, it's interesting what Andrew said, looking ahead to the type of campaign that he's going to run. You have to give Christie some credit. Beyond the fact of it's the right thing to do and equality for all, what he's showing is, I'm not going to dance to the tune of the far right. I'm going to run this is what today is showing by him withdrawing the appeal. Yeah. I'm going to run my campaign the way I want to run it, and so be it.
I'm practical is what, if you wanted to try and sum it up in a couple of words there. When we come back, what I want to get into is nationally. We know New Jersey, we know New York, you can go up the Eastern Seaboard, but either they're progressive or at least moderate states. But as Andrew showed, other than the coast, with a couple of exceptions in this country, this is not the law of the land. What is the chances? You just heard from Andrew's interview. Mr. Stevenson predicts within 5 years the country will be all shaded in. Do you agree? Well, when we come back, we'll get into that conversation. Stay with us.